Hello, I'm Stella Collins, Chief Learning Officer at Stella Labs, and we're here to talk about cognitive overload. So welcome to this Take 5 video about the curse of the expert. You're an expert in your field, you're enthusiastic, and you've been immersed in your field for years, and you're asked to teach people about it. This is great, you're seen as an expert, and of course you want to give them great value and teach them as much as you can. You plan and prepare. There's so much you can share. Perhaps you'll dive into the most interesting thing you know, but there's so much. You'll start at the beginning, but where is the beginning? The history, that's a good place to start, and not too technical. How we got to where we are today. You'll need to share key data, plus all the important details. You'll definitely need to include references, and maybe some case studies will illustrate the point. Before you know it, you've got a slide deck of 50 slides and only 90 minutes to get through it. It'll be okay because you can talk fast and you've got some activities planned in. When it comes to the session though, a few people ask some questions and you want to give them good value with your answers, so you elaborate. And there's a point that's just occurred to you that you really must make. And all of a sudden, you've run out of time and there's been no time to do the activities you needed to do. This is a classic case of the curse of the expert, and we all suffer from it. The people in your audience have asked you to teach them because you're an expert, but they only have ordinary brains, like you and me, to hear, see, and process everything they experience. Unfortunately, working memory is a bottleneck, and you can only process about 5 chunks of information at a time, and anything after that simply spills over and is wasted. What happens is the first 5 or 6 things your audience experience are processed by their working memory, and they're with you. But before they've had time to digest what you've said, connect to what they know, or file it in their memory, you've added 5 or 6 more new ideas, and then more. And you're only on slide 4. Even the best brains on the planet are limited by working memory. And when you try and do too much with working memory, you get cognitive overload. The reason you can process so much more information about your pet topic than other people is you've already built long-term memories and mental schemas in which you can fit new information. You're not necessarily smarter than them, but you've got frames of reference built over years which help you process relevant information more effectively. You can experience cognitive overload for yourself. I'll bet you can easily recite the 12 months of the year without thinking about it. It's a pattern, a schema. Pause this video for a moment whilst you list the 12 months of the year in alphabetical order without writing it down and see what happens. How was that? I'm confident you found it harder than you expected. That's cognitive overload, and it's a snapshot of how your audience might feel when you overwhelm them with new information. They may be fascinated and believe they're learning a lot, but they're not. Because if information can't get through working memory, then it can't become short-term and finally long-term memory. It's not received and learned, it's simply being delivered. How can you overcome this curse of the expert and avoid cognitive overload? Well, there are multiple ways, and you'll explore more in our live virtual labs. But start by focusing not on what do I know, but what does this person need to know or do after this training? Other people will never learn in one day or even a week what it's taken you years to learn. So you need to identify what they really need right now at this stage and what's reasonable in the time you have together. And that's where clear, performance-focused objectives help you and your audience to avoid the curse of the expert. You need to write a small number of clear, learner-centered objectives that focus on what people need to know and do as a result of this training. Then, as you design and deliver your training, you've got guidelines to keep you on track and stop you sharing too much too soon. When you stick to the key points and core elements, you help people start to build their own frameworks and schemas about your area of expertise. At any time you aren't sure whether to add something more, you come back to the objectives. Is this relevant? Do they need to know this? Are they ready for it yet? And will adding more lead to cognitive overload? Of course, clear objectives aren't the only way to avoid cognitive overload, but it's a great place to start.